When you think about the word insecurity, what comes to mind? Usually it's those thoughts that sit in the back of your head and whisper when no one else is around. It's the fear of not being good enough, not being accepted, not measuring up. And here's the truth. Everyone has insecurities. Every single person. The problem is not that you have them, it's what you do with them. Too often, people take the most fragile parts of themselves and hand them to someone who hasn't earned that level of trust. They share their fears, their doubts, their weaknesses with people who don't value or respect the weight of those words. And once that happens, those insecurities are no longer safe. They're vulnerable to judgment, gossip, and even manipulation. You have to understand that not everyone is a safe place. Just because someone listens doesn't mean they care. Just because someone asks doesn't mean they deserve an answer. There are people who will take your deepest insecurity and store it away, not to comfort you, but to use it later when it benefits them. It might come out in an argument, it might slip out in a group, or it might show up in a subtle dig that cuts you right where it hurts most. When you see that happen once, you realize how important it is to guard what you share. Sharing insecurities with the wrong person can create chains around your confidence. Instead of working through them privately or with someone trustworthy, you've now allowed another voice into your struggle. And that voice might not be encouraging, it might not be helpful, it might actually magnify the very thing you're trying to overcome. If you tell someone, "I feel like I'm not smart enough," and they respond with even a hint of agreement or mockery, that insecurity doesn't just stay, it grows roots. It digs deeper because now it feels confirmed. That's why protecting your insecurities is protecting your mind. It's not about hiding who you are, it's about being wise with who you let hold the most sensitive parts of your heart. Trust is earned slowly, over time, through consistency. People prove they are safe not by what they say, but by how they show up. If someone is quick to share the struggles of others, they'll be quick to share yours. If someone uses humor to expose people's weaknesses, they'll eventually expose yours. Pay attention to the patterns, because those patterns will tell you everything you need to know about whether that person deserves your trust. When you share insecurities with someone who hasn't earned it, you also give away your power. You place the steering wheel of your confidence in their hands, and if they decide to turn it against you, you're left dealing with a wound you could have avoided. On the other hand, when you keep those insecurities guarded, you maintain control. You get to choose who helps you process them, who speaks into them, and who earns that privilege. That's not being closed off. That's being strong enough to know that not everyone is entitled to every piece of you. There's a balance to this because we're human and we need connection. We need safe places to be vulnerable. But the key word there is safe. Not everyone who smiles at you is safe. Not everyone who calls themselves a friend is safe. And not everyone who listens is doing it because they care. Vulnerability is powerful, but it should never be careless. Sharing your insecurities requires discernment, and that means slowing down and asking yourself, has this person proven they can be trusted? Have they shown me they protect other people's private struggles? Have they consistently respected boundaries? If the answer is no, then handing them your insecurity is like giving a match to someone standing in a field of dry grass. Your insecurities are not flaws to be mocked. They are signals of where you need to grow, where you need healing, and where you need compassion. They are tender, and tender things don't belong in careless hands. Guarding them doesn't mean you're weak or dishonest. It means you're aware of their weight. It means you value yourself enough not to let just anyone carry them. The wrong person can wound you deeper than the insecurity itself ever could, but the right person can remind you of your worth while you work through it. Until someone proves they're the right person, keep those parts of you close, because some things are too valuable to hand out freely. Money is one of those subjects that carries more weight than most people realize. It's not just about dollars and cents. It's about perception, status, responsibility, and sometimes even power. When you start openly sharing the details of your personal finances, you might think you're being transparent or building trust, but what you're really doing is opening a door that invites judgment, envy, or unwanted advice. People don't hear numbers the same way you do. To you, it might just be facts. To them, it becomes comparison, and comparison almost always breeds tension. The moment you start telling people exactly what you earn, how much you save, or the size of your debt, you create a new layer in the relationship that wasn't there before. Suddenly, people filter your decisions through their own assumptions about your money. If you make more than them, jealousy creeps in. If you make less, pity or superiority shows up. And if you reveal that you're struggling, you risk being labeled as irresponsible or unreliable. None of those outcomes strengthen your connection. They weaken it. What was once a relationship based on character and trust can quickly turn into one clouded by financial judgment. There's also the issue of safety. Not everyone who hears your financial details has good intentions. When someone knows exactly what you have, what you don't, and what you're working toward, they may use that information in ways that don't benefit you. It could be subtle, like pressuring you into paying more than your share or guilt tripping you into loans and favors. It could also be more direct, where your financial information becomes leverage in conversations or negotiations. The truth is, money can complicate relationships that otherwise would have been simple and pure. People also tend to project their values onto your finances. If they believe saving is everything, they'll judge you for spending. If they believe investing is risky, they'll judge you for taking chances. If they believe debt is shameful, they'll judge you for carrying it. It's not that your decisions are wrong, it's that your choices don't match their worldview, and they can't separate their opinion from your reality. That projection creates unnecessary pressure for you to justify or explain. And now, instead of focusing on managing your finances in a way that works for your life, you're managing other people's reactions. Keeping financial details private isn't about being secretive, it's about protecting peace. You have the right to work hard, build, save, spend, or invest without feeling like every choice you make is being watched, measured, and commented on. The fewer people who know the exact numbers, the more freedom you have to move without interference. Money should be a tool that supports your goals, not a weight that ties you to other people's expectations. And the reality is, even when you share with people you think are close, money has a way of changing how they see you. There's another layer to consider, and that's respect. When you keep financial details to yourself, you create boundaries that demand respect. It signals that you value your privacy, and it teaches people not to cross certain lines. But when you casually share everything, you blur those lines, and once they're blurred, it's hard to redraw them. People will expect access, they'll ask for updates, they'll feel entitled to know more than they should. Before long, what you thought was a small detail becomes a regular conversation, and you're left wondering how you lost control of the narrative. Money conversations are not bad, but they need context and trust. The people you allow into that space should be those who have proven loyalty, discretion, and wisdom, because the wrong person doesn't just mishandle your financial information, they mishandle the trust that comes with it. When that trust is broken, it affects more than your finances. It affects your sense of security in the relationship, and that is a cost you don't need to pay. Your goals are like seeds. They start small, they need care, and they take time to grow. The problem is, not everyone who hears about your goals will water them. Some people will step on them before they even break through the soil. That's why you have to be careful who you share your long-term goals with. It's not that you should never talk about them, it's that you should be selective. The wrong voice at the wrong time can plant doubt in your mind, and that doubt can be more damaging than failure itself. When you tell someone about a dream you're working toward, you're putting something fragile out into the open. At the beginning, goals are vulnerable. They don't have proof attached to them yet. They're built on faith, discipline, and vision. If you share that too soon with someone who doesn't understand or doesn't support you, they'll project their limitations onto you. They'll tell you it's unrealistic, that you're wasting time, that it's too big for someone like you. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing them, not because they're right, but because their voice got louder than your own. People who don't support you can also sabotage you in subtle ways. They may not come out and say, I don't believe in you. Instead, they'll change the subject, dismiss your excitement, or give half-hearted encouragement that leaves you second-guessing yourself. Their lack of belief shows up in small moments, but those moments add up. Over time, that resistance can drain your motivation. Suddenly, you're working harder to convince others that your dream is worth it than you are actually working on the dream itself. There's also the reality that some people don't want you to succeed. It's not because they hate you, it's because your progress reminds them of their own lack of progress. Your ambition shines a light on their comfort zone, and not everyone likes to be exposed like that. So instead of cheering you on, they'll try to keep you at their level. They'll downplay your ideas, minimize your wins, or remind you of every obstacle in your way. It's not about your dream, it's about their fear of being left behind. When you hold your goals close, you give them the privacy they need to develop strength. Just like a seed grows roots underground before it breaks through the surface, your goals need time to take root in your discipline and your actions. Once they're rooted, once you've built consistency and momentum, then sharing them becomes less risky because now you have results to back them up. At that point, other people's opinions matter less because your actions are already proving what's possible. Not everyone deserves to hear the details of where you're going. Some people only deserve to see the results once you arrive, and that's not arrogance, that's wisdom. Protecting your goals isn't about shutting people out, it's about keeping your vision clear from the fog of negativity and doubt. The people who genuinely support you will celebrate you no matter when they find out. The people who don't support you shouldn't be given the power to shape your belief in yourself. When it comes to relationships, privacy is power. The more you let other people into the private details of your relationship, the more you invite voices that don't belong there. Every relationship has ups and downs, struggles and victories, and the temptation is to share those moments with friends, family, or even coworkers. But once those details leave your mouth, you can't control where they go or how they're received. What felt like a simple venting session can easily turn into gossip, judgment, or bias that lingers long after the situation has passed. When you share the intimate details of your relationship, you give outsiders a magnifying glass into something they were never meant to examine. A fight that was small between you and your partner can suddenly feel bigger when you've told others. They'll add their opinions, their advice, their assumptions, and before you know it, you're carrying their voices into the next conversation with your partner. Instead of working through it together, you're now influenced by people who don't live in your relationship, don't know the full story, and don't share the same commitment. The danger isn't just in the negative moments, it's also in the good ones. Sharing too many private details, even about the positive aspects of your relationship, can create unnecessary comparisons for others or expose your partner in ways they never agreed to. Intimacy thrives in trust, and trust is built when both people know that what happens between them stays protected. When that boundary gets crossed, even with good intentions, it chips away at the sense of safety in the relationship. Protecting those private details doesn't mean you never seek guidance or support. There's value in having a trusted mentor, counselor, or close confidant who has proven they can handle sensitive information with care. But the key word is trusted. Not casual friends, not social media, not people who simply want the latest update. The more voices you bring in, the harder it becomes to hear your own and your partner's. Every relationship needs a safe zone, a circle that doesn't get broken. When you preserve that, you and your partner have the freedom to work through challenges without outside interference. You can build trust, resolve conflict, and celebrate milestones without the weight of other people's opinions. Privacy isn't about secrecy. It's about respect. Respect for the bond you're building and respect for the person you're building it with. Mistakes are part of being human. Every one of us has a trail of choices we wish we could take back, moments where we stumbled, and lessons we had to learn the hard way. But just because mistakes shape us doesn't mean they all need to be shared. There's wisdom in deciding which parts of your past deserve a voice and which ones should stay private. When you put every mistake out in the open, you're not just telling your story, you're handing other people material to define you by, and not everyone will use it fairly. Some people can't separate who you are today from what you did years ago. You might share a mistake in an attempt to be vulnerable, but instead of seeing growth, they lock you into that version of yourself. They remember it, repeat it, and sometimes even weaponize it. What you meant as honesty can quickly turn into ammunition for gossip or judgment. The more personal and unfiltered the mistake, the more potential it has to be twisted. And once it's out there, you don't control how it's retold or who it reaches. It's also important to understand that not everyone earns the right to hear your struggles. Some people see vulnerability as weakness, not as courage. If you share too much with the wrong person, they won't support you. They'll label you. They'll keep a quiet tally in their head, building an image of you that doesn't reflect who you've become. Instead of seeing resilience, they'll see recklessness. Instead of recognizing growth, they'll see failure. And when opportunities come up, that skewed version of you might be the one they carry forward, not the real one. There's a difference between learning from your mistakes and living in them. When you constantly put them on display, it's easy to get stuck in a cycle of over-explaining and defending yourself. You end up spending more time talking about who you used to be than showing who you are now. Growth is best proven through action, not constant storytelling. The people who matter will see your progress in the way you live, not in the way you recount every misstep. This doesn't mean you hide your past out of shame. It means you choose wisely who to share it with and why. Some mistakes belong in safe conversations with mentors, trusted friends, or spaces built for healing. Those are the people who can help you process and remind you that you're not defined by a single decision. But the casual circle, the people who haven't earned that depth, don't need a front row seat to your history. Protecting your mistakes isn't about hiding truth. It's about protecting your growth from being misunderstood or misused. Trust is one of the most valuable currencies you'll ever hold, and nothing spends it faster than sharing someone else's secret. When a person opens up to you, they're not just giving you information, they're handing you a piece of themselves. They're saying, "I trust you to carry this with care." The moment you repeat that to someone else, even in passing, you've broken something that's hard to rebuild. And once trust is cracked, no matter how much you apologize, it never feels quite the same again. The temptation to share someone's secret often comes disguised as harmless. You tell yourself it's just one friend, it's just this once, or it won't get back to them. But secrets have a way of traveling. What you whisper today can be repeated tomorrow, and before long, the story is out in places it was never meant to be. When that happens, it doesn't matter if you meant no harm. The damage is done, and your credibility takes the hit. Keeping someone's confidence shows strength. It shows discipline. It shows that you value loyalty over gossip and integrity over attention. Because let's be honest, people often share secrets to feel important, to look like they're in the know. But that short burst of significance isn't worth the long-term cost of being seen as untrustworthy. Once people learn that you can't keep something private, they'll stop opening up to you. And it doesn't just affect one relationship, it affects how everyone around you views your character. There's also a bigger truth here. The way you treat other people's secrets is the way others assume you'll treat theirs. If you casually let things slip, if you laugh about private details that weren't yours to share, you're teaching everyone that their words aren't safe with you. On the other hand, if you guard what's told to you, if you respect boundaries even when it would be easy to cross them, you build a reputation of reliability. People notice that and they value it. Protecting secrets is about more than protecting information. It's about protecting relationships, reputations, and the trust that keeps connections strong. And once you lose that, no amount of words can fully buy it back.